Um, but I also think the artists that you guys selected were like spot on for the show, like really added those extra layers. And when we started to think more about, show texts and really dive into the concepts and the themes, I felt like Heidi and Hugh's work in particular really added that extra depth to that conversation and really helped shape what we wrote about it. And it was just really nice to meet those artists and like hear them actually be talking about their work too and get that into the mix before we kind of like finalize the show. Um, but yeah, it's interesting because I feel like, interior landscapes, it is sort of about, the domestic interior lives that we have, but also thinking about and how that can maybe be anxiety provoking, but then also like our exterior lives and how that also kind of coordinates with those kind of same feelings, but also both an interior and exterior space can also be very comforting. Being out in the natural world. And I think of Las Vegas of being this stark desert space, and we have all of these like greens and flowers and like the flora and fauna. So it's just kind of an interesting landscape to be talking about this type of landscape. So yeah, I think it's like really nice for people to like step into this space and see it be so colorful and have all of these textures and also just thinking about the context of each location as well. Las Vegas is a very suburban place where people mostly are driving around, they're alone in their cars, they're inside a lot of the time, whether they're at work or, just experiencing their daily lives. And in Mexico City, it is a very tight urban environment and it's people are all out in the streets. You live in a smaller space, you may live with multiple people, so it's just a much more public, I feel like, area, whereas I feel like Las Vegas feels a bit more private. So it is kind of interesting to think about those two contexts for a show like this. So I'm also curious, you said that this was your first collaboration with another gallery or organization, and I'm just curious about like what was that motivation for this to be the first one?
Well, I think because we've done a number of exhibitions now where the curatorial focus has been very much coming from myself or Matthew, though we also had a guest curator, Montasia Sims, who put together a very interesting exhibition here. So, we like the idea of bringing in another vision. That is not a million miles away from obviously what we're doing, but
Mhm.
I think keeps it fresh. Would
Mm.
you agree?
Yeah, yeah, and it's, that sort of expansion of networking between artists and other groups that are kind of doing it themselves.
Yeah.
Um, and and I guess I like the kind of homegrown grassroots attitude that we have from coast to almost coast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, because we're a gallery that's inside of our residence, and it sort of goes back to what you were saying about Las Vegas being a private place,
Hmm.
and it kind of accentuates that privacy that's within the city, and the fact that people like being in a more kind of sacred space, let's call it, because
Yeah.
it's not a commercial gallery space, it's somebody's house.
Yeah.
And I think it also helps with just feeling comfortable around
Yeah.
art in a city that, is a very visual city, but doesn't actually have a lot of gallery or museum spaces to attend.
Yeah.
It's trying to fill that gap between the public and private that, yeah, you mentioned about Las Vegas.
Yeah.
There are artists here that obviously, you know, folks are not going to be seeing on a regular basis here in Las Vegas. So we've been able to introduce some new artists, thanks to you, to this space, alongside artists who are more well known here. So I think that's a big plus.
Yeah. I think that's sort of like the next phase for things, I mean, not speaking for you necessarily, but I guess maybe in my mind of both myself and maybe more generally like what's in the culture is, being part of this experience in Las Vegas, having my own show with the city, and first of all meeting Matthew at spring break in New York City, then having a show, then doing this collaboration with you guys. This is the first out of like my New York bubble. I'm really excited to be part of this community and to continue to be part of this new community and to also start to branch out in other places as well. So I think this has been like, again, like with Clavo, that's my first international residency I've participated in. So that was a first. And then like collaborating out of state, this is a first. So I think it just like, it's those, yeah, just getting your feet wet, testing it out, seeing how it feels, and then really giving you the confidence and the inspiration to keep trying new things and moving forward.
What you're speaking to in regards to how the exhibition brings both exterior and interior together, both in a physical way, but also in a mental and emotional way. And I think that's very much captured in the works,
Hmm.
and relevant wherever you are, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think something, meeting other artists and art patrons at the opening, people seem to be very receptive of the show and really interested and engaged with the works. So I'm kind of curious if, this type of show is on brand for you guys. Like, do you normally kind of go in this like, colorful, textile, texture rich kind of direction, or was this something a little bit different for you?
Um, it was a little bit different, but I think generally we focus on what the work is and what
Hmm.
it's doing in the context of our space, and then in Las Vegas as sort of a greater context. So in a way, I think the materials are a little bit different for us because we have
Hmm.
been, I guess, sculpture, painting, and print heavy.
Hmm.
When it's pushing through an idea as clearly as this exhibition is doing, then we're kind of happy with it. So it's really, the it's not so much the medium as the message, but if we can get a balance between the two with the aesthetics and the ideas and the greater theme of the show altogether, then it feels like we're doing something successful. And
Hmm.
you never kind of know that until you do get audience responses and reception.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it feels, I mean, I personally like the show. I think it hangs together very well. And we've had very cool responses from visitors saying that, it's very consistent, it's all balanced, it's serious, but also fun. There's some laughs, there's some, more kind of serious things to ponder. So it's got a very wide gamut of ideas that
Mhm.
are encased in quite a simple concept.
Yeah. But also I feel like ideas that are pretty accessible for, most of an audience coming in because they are things that are so relevant to our daily lives, So I really also enjoy having shows that are kind of what you were saying, Matt, of like they have this levity, but they also have a seriousness to them and can sort of be, we can take ourselves seriously as artists and gallerists, but we can also make it an accessible and a more comfortable place for you to come in and give you an access point to really experience the work and be part of it and not create this sort of like cold, alienating environment, you know?
Well, it feels, as a response to what you were talking about with being an artist and a curator and, the multiple other hats that you wear, artists are already having to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like they're having to do with their social media, they're having to get the word out for, curatorial gigs and just get the work in front of people. I mean, we kind of see what we're doing with CouperRuss is, trying to alleviate some of those stresses about contextualizing your work. So if we can come up with the ideas and then bring the work to those ideas and then display it, hopefully
Hmm.
that responsibility of communication is more on us than it is on the artist, so that the artist can just turn up and enjoy the
Yes.
show, because
Yeah.
as you probably know as well,
Yeah.
it can be exhausting to do all this, and you want to be
Yeah.
able to enjoy it when you see everything up on the wall.
Yeah.
I
I
think I
mean,
think that's what's made it successful, is that it's nice to be in. It's a great show to be in. It flows really well. The works are talking to each other, even though a lot of the artists don't know each other.
yes.
So I just sort of feel that that is a real success for the aesthetics of art.
Curating from the perspective as an artist is really exciting too, because your medium, it's so cheesy, your medium becomes everybody else's work, and it's like putting things together is like that same fun process of being in your studio and like hitting an aha moment where you're just like going, and the white walls become your canvas. And I think that I'm always intrigued by other artists that are curators. No shade on like the art history and like those people, but um, just like I don't know, I think artists have more fun and take more risk with how they're presenting the work, and bring in, they're not afraid to show work that is less commercial.
And I think that's definitely, what we've enjoyed about Paradise Palace, is the approach, that the kind of artist focus, but the type of work, that you're showing. We felt a real connection there, and it's a great, for us, this is our first collaboration with another project,
Mm.
right? So it is really cool to be able to connect what artists are doing here with what artists are doing on the other, side of the country,
Hmm.
and to see those connections. So thank you for also allowing us to be part of that, and then to bring the works here. So thank
Yeah.
you, Kat.
Yeah. Thank you both.